was 35 or 36. I started writing a play when I was 32. I had been acting up until that point, and sort of my entry point into writing was through the acting, so I wrote a solo play for myself that I produced and performed. And I was having a transition as an actor because I didn't really want to do it anymore. And I thought, so there was this sort of very nebulous period where I thought, oh, I'm going to be a solo performance artist, and that didn't feel right. And I went to London to visit my friend John, who was teaching over there for a semester, and I was coming back from the National Theatre, and I was walking across the Thames, and this small little voice said, oh, you're going to write another play. And I've learned that that small little voice is always the one to trust, not the big ones with the bells and whistles. And that sort of set me on the trajectory of writing. And then 2 years after that, I went back to school. So I feel like that leading into going back to grad school was the beginning of the process, and doing grad school sort of solidified my life as a writer and really gave me a writing practice. So, and I didn't go back to grad school until I was 37. Right. So really, my writing practice sort of became solid around when I turned 40. Yeah. So yeah, late. It was very late. I hadn't written any poetry with any kind of regularity. Probably since I got my MFA, because I did a poetry correlative. But it had been maybe 8 years, maybe 9. I'd written some poems here and there, just kind of, this has kind of come up in that form. But I didn't want to write a play, and I was teaching, and I wanted to be writing, and so I thought, oh, you've had this idea for this set of poems, why don't you start working on that? And it's easier for me when I'm teaching to work on smaller pieces. Like, I can't really write the first draft of a play during a school year, I just don't have the mental space. And so I started writing these poems, and, I had been teaching poetry, not poetry specifically, but within the 3 genre classes that you know about, for a long time. It had been a while, and all of a sudden, I had all these skills that I had no idea I had as a poet, particularly in terms of like line break and diction, and these poems were appearing, and I was able to go back to old poems and revise them in ways that I literally didn't know that I had those skills. I didn't know that they were there, and that was only because I've been teaching it. When you have to teach something, you have to break it down, and so you have to really understand the components of it. And then, I've learned tons from students who've said, what about this moment? And it's like, oh my God, I never thought about that. So a lot of it's come that way as well. Yeah. Plays and poems have sort of a large amount of negative space in them. There's a lot of air in them. And I started writing these creative nonfiction pieces, and I haven't figured out how to create negative space yet. And so that's a really intriguing question to me. How do you start creating negative space in fiction and prose, which is so much denser? Even just what it looks like visually on the page is so much denser. And I'm used to seeing a page that has so much more air in it. So it's one of the things I've been talking to about with other writers right now. And I'm about to join a cross-genre writing group, several of whom write creative nonfiction. So that's one of the things I'll look forward to hearing feedback about. Yeah, can you believe that? Well, this is the deal. My sister on the paper. 1, 2, 3, 4. It has to be a zero. The doors have to be zero clearance. 6 teachers in my life, starting in high school. And then when I was acting, and so not sort of private lessons, and then when I was in a theater company, and then when I went to grad school. And there's 6 people who have changed my life. And I suppose if I had to look at that group of people, the thing that they were all attempting to do was to uncover the impulse and whatever the impulse is, to follow it. So to trust your impulse. Which, one of the things I started this summer with was to write a manifesto for myself, and that's the first thing on it, which is trust your impulse. And I think as an artist, that's the best advice I could give anybody. So if you have a sense that you want to stop writing poetry and you want to start painting, start painting. There's obviously something there that needs to be found or discovered or uncovered or exploded or expanded. And I think all these teachers did that. That's what they were trying to do for me, was to clear the way for whatever needed to be expressed at that moment. And these were people that were acting teachers and voice teachers and writing teachers. So in sort of many different kinds of forms. But that would be the common thread, I think. I don't think that there's a moment in my writing career that I'm the proudest of. And I'll try and say this without getting choked up. I think the thing I'm proudest of is my teaching. That is something that, during that transition when I turned 50, I came to realize how important it was to me, and what kind of place I think that has in the world, and what I get back from it. So, writing career, the whole idea about career, whatever, I don't really care. I've never been particularly driven by that. And I think one of the things that I'm good at as a teacher is that as an artist, I'm more interested in process than I am in product. So I'm not a career person. I don't really care if I become famous or get published. I'd like to have this book come out. That would be great, but I'm not someone who's been driven by needing to have that. And I think that that's one of the things that I teach well, is process. So actually it's the teaching thing that's the most important part of this. I can't teach unless I'm writing. So there's the connection. And my writing is better because I teach. So there's a dialogue between those two things that's really important for both of them.